Welcome so much. Thank you for being a part of Prison Break, the behavior mastery experience. I'm so passionate about what I'm doing because we must get the message of hope out there to everyone that is struggling with any kind of lifestyle that is not their choice, with any kind of oppressive, compulsive lifestyle. How in the world can you be living a life and then you want to say, okay, I don't want it no more, and now you cannot? That's oppressive. And I can't wait to get as many people free as it is possible for me to get them to be free. And so we're going to take this program to the next level. Now listen, the things that the Prison Break and the Behavior Master Experience, what we have set out to achieve, it's not going to be possible to achieve all of that unless I share my story with you. My story is so critical. My story is so profound. My story is so important to getting this message out. I may not have been a gay, I may not have been homosexual, I may not have been bisexual, but then it doesn't make what I had to deal with any less severe. It was so critical. I battled with it. It messed me up time and again until I got myself free. Can you imagine being so addicted to a lifestyle that you don't care, you are not sensitive, you don't take into consideration where you are, even if you are in a church premises, even if you are in a religious environment, you don't care. You can go into extremities no matter the environment. Have you been so addicted to stuff that even in a bus, in a commercial bus, your lifestyle is people may not have known, not because they couldn't have known, for whatever reason, they were just not aware, but certain things were going on. Even in a commercial bus, even in a church environment, you have no idea what I had to deal with. But what for some reasons I cannot explain, maybe it didn't come to public domain, but that's how serious it was. And so I share my personal story, and I will share with people as I counsel with them and as I show them the way to freedom. I have to share with them how I struggled with masturbation and how I struggled with pornography, even as a pastor. I share that with them. The underlying word, the operative word there is even as a pastor. That helps you to appreciate the fact that when it comes to addiction, it has no respect for titles. When it comes to addiction and lifestyles, it has no respect for placement, political placement, religious placement, societal placement. It has no respect for nobody. It's going to mess you up anywhere. It's going to mess you up anytime, and it's going to mess you up any day. Just get an entire career crash like a pack of cards, and then mess you up for permanently. It takes a lot of courage to stand up again and get back to become a voice after such a crash. And so I share these stories, and I dare to share it any day, any time, without any shame, without any I don't hold back nothing, because you see, why would I hold back anything? No, why would I hold back such an amazing deliverance that God has brought my way? So I share it because I believe it makes it easier for you out there to relate with me. I believe it makes it easier for you to feel free to share with me. I believe it makes it easier to let you know. Listen, that is not any strange or unusual that you have a lot of struggles. Listen, don't let anything make you feel like you're so old, you deserve to die, you deserve to be killed, you don't deserve to have a voice again. No, 1,000 times no. What is not good is for you to struggle in silence. The reason is because if you keep struggling in silence and you don't want to come out and get free, you're going to crash in public. Struggling in silence, not wanting to be helped, not positioning yourself for help, not making any effort to come free, going to mess you up in public. Listen, listen, listen. Everyone on the face of the earth has a weight and a sin that easily besets them. Everyone. I don't care who they are. Everyone is struggling with stuff. If you found anybody who is struggling with nothing, it's because they have overcome theirs. It's not like they were born without struggle, or it's not like they went through life and then they didn't navigate through places that introduced them into all kinds of struggle. No, 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 no. 1,000 times no. It's just that they've been free. Listen, we live in times when people, everybody is portraying themselves like there are some infallibly macho persons, as if they've never struggled with anything before, as if they've never had issues before. No, for me that doesn't work. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Listen, they make it look like they're perfect. They make it look like nobody makes mistakes. They make it look like, listen, that's the reason why we can't even find anybody to learn from. If everybody is perfect, if nobody was homosexual and now they are no more homosexual and they are preacher men and they are people holding political offices or they are high and mighty, if nobody ever passed that way, then where are we going to learn from? If nobody ever passed that way with addiction and all kinds of stuff, if nobody will struggle with smoking, comes out to say, okay, I struggle with smoking, this is how I came through. So how are we going to learn? Now we're going to experience a change. So at the end of the day, there is nobody to learn from. And what that does is that it makes those of us that are struggling feel like something is exceptionally, fundamentally wrong with us. Yeah, maybe it's not like what we're doing is right, but you see, this thing is a reality of life, and we can't keep hiding that we have struggles. We got to come out and be free. Listen, Jesus was the Son of God. Jesus came here with the destiny of a king and a savior. But look at the way he died. He died an embarrassing death. He died a disgraceful death. He died a shameful. He died the death of a condemned criminal. And then he died, and then when he came back to life, Jesus went everywhere displaying his scars. He displayed his wounds to everyone who cared to see. He didn't hide it. He wasn't ashamed of the fact that he died, but he came back to life. You see, at the end of the day, he has the victory. And so what are you going to... How do you explain the victory without the scars? It ain't going to work. Listen, there is really no victor without scars. It is the reason why my story, sharing my story, is so important in this training, in this program, in this experience. Sharing my story is so critical because, you see, as a pastor, I struggled with addictions. But the point is, I came through with explainable steps. And that's what I'm sharing. Listen, life can be very unfair. Not many of us took that path by choice. Oftentimes, life exposed us so too early that we were ready for the things that we had to deal with. Listen, I was not yet 10 years before I was 10 years. Before I could even clock 10, a thinking neighbor of ours took me to his flat, got himself nude, and then asked me to begin to suck his dick. Okay, explain to me. Less than 10 years. How would I even know that something was wrong with sucking somebody's dick unless somebody told me? How would I did all of that and walked away. I didn't even know what he asked me to do was wrong. I didn't even know anything was wrong. Nobody told me. Nobody prepared me for that. And so I just did all that and walked away. But with children, we're impressionable. Something happens, it stays with you. You may not feel the effect right away, but down the line, as you get a little older, things begin to happen. So when I became a teenager, I visited this Christian family. It was in their family house that we usually held house fellowships. And so I went visiting them, and then by the time we were done, I left, and as I was stepping down the stairs, right under the stairs, my attention, my eyes caught up with a video CD, a compact disc, right under the staircase on a heap of debris. What caught my fancy was that on them video CD was a graphic design of naked, nude people. They were naked, they were nude. I think they were having some sexual adventure. But when I saw them pictures, it caught my attention. Nobody told me there was anything like pornography. Nobody told me there was anything called blue films. Nobody told me nothing. So when I saw it, it provoked my curiosity. I picked them up. I said, I need to see what was in there. And then I took them home and satisfied my curiosity. I wanted to know what it was about. Trust me. Between sucking my dick, my neighbor's dick, before I was 10, and running into this material after I was a teenager already, you don't want to know what that translated into. Trust me. Pornography, masturbation set in, and I had to deal with that for a very long time. The funny thing about my story is that at some point in my life, I was called into pastoral ministry. At some point in my life, I had to be ordained as a pastor. You will think that becoming ordained with all them oil poured on you as an anointing session and all them ceremony and all them prayer and all them impartation, you would have thought that that session will help to fix my struggles. Can I tell you something? It never did. I continued to battle with this lifestyle until I got ordained as a pastor. And then I moved it up from that point. Just a few years later, I got married, and you will think that getting married was going to help to fix it. Can I disappoint you? No, it did not fix it. Of course, getting married helped. It helped because now and again you feel the urge, you feel the desire, you feel the prompt, and then you have a legitimate place where to discharge it. But you see, the problem with addiction is that because it is a compulsive behavior that takes over your life and then keeps you in captivity, even with a beautiful, amazing, well-behaved, heavily cooperative and supportive wife that was amazing, I still battled with these lifestyles again and again. And what this will always lead to is embarrassing situations. With addictions, you always have embarrassing situations to deal with. Situations like you get into a relationship, and especially if the person you got into a relationship with have that kind of background too, before long you guys begin to finger and manipulate each other's genitals, and before long an amazing relationship is messed up and everybody walks away. Sometimes you go into a relationship even when the partner is not exposed to that. Before you know it, you influence them into the same stuff, and then before long the entire relationship is messed up. So before you know it, you're going to lose incredible relationships that have incredible potentials and possibilities. Or are you going to talk about some occasions where you no longer have value for the opposite sex? What are they going to give you that you're not going to be able to give to yourself, and then avoid all the complications and complexities that come with maintaining heterosexual relationships? You don't want to do that. And so I had to battle with these. I had to struggle with it again and again. And the problem with religious environments is that who are you going to talk with? Now, who are you going to talk with? I've had to deal with situations where somebody walks to a pastor at the end of a service and it's like, I have this struggle, I'm gay. And then the pastor, you would think the pastor was going to help him. You would think the pastor was going to pray for him and then work on and do something to help this guy. He prays for this guy, sends this guy away, only to come back on a Wednesday in a service where the guy is not in attendance, tell them church about the guy and put the guy on suspension. And then the guy shows up in church the next Sunday and everybody is avoiding him like he's a plague. And then it filters into his ear what transpired on Wednesday, and the boy walks out of church and vowed, he's vowed never to have anything to do with church no more in his life. So you have a challenge in religious environments where you're dealing with them struggles, and you don't know who to talk to. Because of blackmail, because of all kinds of stuff, because of stigmatization, because of rejection, because of the tendency to kill injured soldiers in religious communities. And so a lot of the times we struggle with these things and then nobody to talk to. And that's why it continues to proliferate and expand and extend and spread. The spread is amazing. Trust me. How did I get out of this rut? That's what behavior mastery is all about, as I prepare you for a lifetime experience. I've told you some of the reasons why I share my story. I tell you two more. The next reason why I share my story is because, listen, teachers don't know more than the people they teach. No. Teachers do not have more experience. No, it's just that they share what they know. That's all. And by the time they share what they know, there's a sense in which they know more, they get deeper, and they get better. That's all. And so when I begin to teach what I've been victorious over, as I begin to share my experiences and help other people, there is a sense in which my victory is reinforced, my victory is consolidated, I get deeper, and I get better. Next, there is also a sense in which people, you've been having this challenge all the while, and then 5 years ago, there's a new lease of life, you get free, you're transformed, and you're living a whole different life. And then people can come and accuse you that you did something. And because nobody knew this was your lifestyle, nobody knew when you came out of the lifestyle, when you are accused, people cannot place it whether this happened when you were still deeply in that lifestyle or after you've become free and probably you've even become a pastor. And so there's a sense in which people can accuse you and other people won't even know whether what you're being accused of happened now or it happened several years ago when you are still deeply, deeply caught up in sin. I'll share a story with you. The head pastor of a church in my city painfully shared a story with me how a male pastor that he had absorbed, he had accommodated, he had employed to work with him. And interestingly, I knew this pastor he was talking about, even though by mere recognition, I haven't seen him in some events once and again. And then he shared how this pastor sexually abused several boys in his congregation and then disappeared without anybody knowing. It was later, it filtered into the ears of them senior pastor, and he was so grieved, so disappointed, so frustrated. He shared them with me. It's just a story that he shared, and so I left it at that. But something happened later. A young chap chatted me up online, somebody I had pastored at some point in the course of my pastoral career, got me, chatted me up online and was like, "Excuse me, sir, do you know XYZ pastor?" And I'm like, why do you ask? And it's like, my mama told me I should have nothing to do with them, pastor. But my mama wouldn't tell me what it is that is the reason why I should have nothing to do with the pastor. Wow, this is another challenge I have with parenting today. How in the world would you tell a chap, this guy was in his late teenage years or early adult, young adult age, so I'm not too sure. But how in the world would you tell a young boy, don't associate with XYZ, and you wouldn't tell him why? Listen, you're going to create curiosity that will lead him to go find out, and in the course of doing all that, he's going to get damaged. You don't want to do that. Why? I don't get that. So I was like, oh, really? So immediately I was done with the chap. I had to invite the pastor in question. I had to invite him to the office to have a meeting with me because I needed to find out a few things from him. I knew a few things about him. I've seen him play a few instruments and play certain roles in music, and I wasn't aware that he had to deal with all that. And so I had to invite him because oftentimes when I'm facing situations like this, I can be very upfront when it becomes necessary. And so I said that he came to the office and I was like, this is what I'm hearing. I've been told that you got involved in XYZ church and then you did this kind of stuff and then you did that and then you did that. And he was like, listen, that used to be my lifestyle before I became a Christian. I've never done that as a pastor, he explained. And then that led me to begin to ask a couple of other questions. So when did you become a Christian? How did you become a Christian? Who was involved in your process of transformation? When did you become a pastor? How did you become a pastor? Who was involved in your transition into ministry? I wanted to get all of that. And then by the time I was done with all that, whether what he was saying was true or not, what was important for me was that I started to educate him on the proper way to transit from one lifestyle to another lifestyle. Listen, and this is where I come to talk to you. Listen, ordinarily, you should not overcome a past lifestyle and then be ashamed to share about it. I don't get that. It doesn't make sense to me. How would you be ashamed to tell about your journey when you can show other people the way? Listen, your testimony makes your transition a lot more believable. It's going to help a whole lot of other people experience what you've experienced. That's what being a witness is all about. You shall be my witnesses. A witness of a transformation encounter. What else? Listen. One of the requirements for permanently dealing a fatal blow on circles and patterns in our past lifestyles, listen, is to train other people on how to overcome when and just as we have overcome. Listen, you have no idea how reinforcing that can be. Listen, there is a check and an enabling that sharing about your victory places on you and then reinforces that victory. Incredible experience. You have no idea. Listen, even Jesus the Christ, even Paul the Apostle, went everywhere showing everybody their scars. Paul 3 times received 39 strokes of the cane. Paul went through all kinds of persecutions and hurdles. You see, in today's ministry, it looks like ministry is more about presenting yourself like nobody has touched you before, nobody can mess with you. If people mess with you, God is going to come down and kill everybody. Nothing has ever hurt you before. You are untouchable, you are invincible. Well, I don't know. But you see, Paul went through all kinds of stuff, including imprisonment. All them Bible were written from the prison. But today it will look like being in prison is a shame, is an embarrassment. It's like, God, where was God when they put me in prison? I don't get that. Jesus and Paul came out there and showed them everyone their scars. And I'm going to ask you, what are you hiding? No, what should you be hiding? It doesn't work for me. So I share my story, number one, among all the points I've already given you, to empower other people. I share my story. To silence the devil, I share my story. To silence all them accusers that could arise in the coming days, I share my story. To permanently destroy the appetite for going back to my vomit. That's why I share my story. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. I'm passionate about this because in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 to 28, the Bible talks about dominion. Now, I'm sharing my passion with you now. The Bible talks about dominion. God created us and He gave us dominion over everything. He created us not to be dominated by anything. He created us not to be dominated by any person. He created us not to be dominated by any lifestyle. It makes me passionate. Listen, what I'm doing through Prison Break and through Behavior Mastery Experience is that I'm preparing people, old and young, for an historic prison break. We must break free. Listen, it's going to be a jailbreak that is very phenomenal and not taking no excuse from nothing. Listen, it's possible to be in prison and you know nothing about it. But the challenge is that if you are in prison, you can never reach your full potential. Imprisonment is going to limit you every way possible. Are you going to be living a lifestyle that gets you depressed? Are you going to function? That deflates your emotional capabilities? Listen, emotions are so important. They define our actions, therefore they control our results. And so I'd like for you to be with me on this journey as I help you realize whether you are in prison or not, as I help you and show you just how you can initiate a prison break, and just so that you can reach your full potential. Listen, I believe that nobody, young or old, should agree to exit this world without reaching their full potential. Nobody should do that. Like I said in all my introductions, when we advertise them stuff on social media and all other platforms, I refuse to let you exit this world if you have not reached your full potential. That's my commitment. My commitment is a refusal to let you exit this world until you have reached your full potential. But listen, if we're going to achieve this, you and I, then a few non-negotiables are indicated, and they are critical. Number one, you must never let yourself, from today, you must never let yourself be enslaved by anything or by any person or by any lifestyle, including but not limited to addictions and all them different kinds of sexual orientations. You must never let that. Number two, you must stand up and rebel against all forms of slavery. Whatever them slaveries are, you must do that. Very often, most of us, young and old, we engage in actions, we engage in lifestyles, we engage in activities. These activities bring us some kind of temporary rewards. And yet with those temporary rewards, these activities bring negative consequences that carry lasting effects. My challenge is this. Oftentimes, we are not able to stop these activities. We're not able to stop these lifestyles. We're not able to stop these behavioral tendencies, even if we want to stop them. How else am I going to describe slavery? It's the worst form of slavery. Oftentimes, many of us do not feel like we are enslaved. Why? Because we think it's a free choice that we made. But let me bust your bubble. How can you call that a free choice when you can really not stand up and say, okay, from today, I'm not going to do this no more? How is that a free choice? No, that's slavery. Because listen, if you really are not enslaved, then stand up and stop that lifestyle right now and then maintain it for another 21 days to 30 days without a fight. You can do that. Listen, slavery is established upon three pivots. Number one, slavery is established on servitude. Slavery is established on ownership. Slavery is established on labor, on body, on life. 5 pivots. Number one, slavery is established when you are trapped as a servant, servitude, and as the property of ownership of another person or thing, in such a way that all your labor and all the things you do with your physical body, all your actions and what you do with your physical body, and what you do with your entire life as it touches your will, your emotion, your mind, your intellect, your instincts, everything becomes subject to that owner's choices, becomes subject to that owner's control. Then you are a slave. And the truth about slaves, they are not at liberty to leave the masters at will without a fight. And even if they engage a fight, oftentimes the slave is more sophisticated, the master is more sophisticated, is stronger than the slave. So even with a fight, you're gonna lose the battle. And so it's so important that you decide from today, never again am I going to be enslaved. Listen, when you allow yourself to become a slave of any kind, I don't care what it is, then you defeat the purpose of redemption. You defeat the purpose of creation. You defeat the entire essence of the Creator. I can tell you this authoritatively. You were never created to be enslaved. You were created to dominate. Matter of fact, you have no right to allow yourself to become enslaved by anything but your Creator. Once you let something else enslave you when you were created by somebody else, all you do is provoke the jealousy of your Creator. How would I create you? And then you become enslaved. You submit yourself literally to the enslavement of something or somebody else. Listen, if you're going to reach your full potential, then never let yourself to be enslaved by anything, by any lifestyle, no matter what it is. Listen, addiction is broad. Compulsive behavior is broad. Listen, it's possible to be enslaved by anger. Some of us are enslaved by bitterness. Some people are enslaved by gossip. They can't stop it. Enslaved by jealousy, by lust, by greed. They're enslaved by selfishness. Some people are slaves to food. Some are slaves to sex and all kinds of sexual orientation. Some people are slaves to shopping. They can't do without shopping. They're going to be sick. Some people are enslaved, slaves of clothes, slaves of masturbation, slaves of the internet, slaves of gadgets, slaves of phones. They sleep on their phone. They wake up on their phone. They're going to go to their phone when they wake up, before they go to God in prayer, before they talk to their wives, their spouses, their children. They can't take their eyes off their phones. They will drive on phone. They'll swim their phone in. They'll punch their phone until they fall into a ditch. They're addicted. They don't even know it. That's why I said you can be a slave without even knowing. Some people are slaves to chocolate, to party and partying. Some people are slaves to drugs, to cigarettes, to pornography, to gambling, to homosexuality, bisexuality, lesbianism. People are enslaved by anything, all kinds of things. And some people will ask me, but is there anything wrong with masturbation, with pornography, with all kinds of these things you're talking about? Is anything wrong with it? Now listen, there is an ongoing debate about whether anything could be wrong with these lifestyles. But let me tell you something about it. This debate is like a propaganda. It's sponsored by people who want to make certain addictive lifestyles to become the new normal. And you don't want to be messed up. You don't want to be caught up by them. You don't want to do that. Trust me. What they do is that they make you develop, or they attempt to make you develop a sense of comfort in discomfort. Listen, what they're trying to do is to eliminate the accompanied guilt that comes. They want to eliminate it through manipulation. But you see, the Holy Book talks about consciences that are seared with hot iron. Consciences that are seared with hot iron. That is, consciences that have been deadened using a very hot iron, so that those consciences are no longer sensitive to caution, sensitive to guilt, sensitive to anything wrong. So they do whatever they want, and their sensitivities are deadened. That's what the Bible is talking about when it talks about consciences that are seared with hot iron. But let me tell you one thing that is worrisome and is constant for me. When I chat with people, when I counsel with people, when I take people through behavior mastery experience, and they try to describe their emotions with me, the emotions that come after every act. Look at some of the kind of reactions I get, and then let's see together whether, let's draw a conclusion. So somebody masturbates, he watches pornography, he does all kinds of stuff, and then at the end of what you thought should give him or her pleasure, the person is like, the affliction is too much. I don't get that. How will something that should give you pleasure, of course, give you temporary pleasure, and then the after effect is that you feel afflicted? That's torturous. Someone was like, I feel angry with myself. Look at all them negative emotions emanating from one act. And you know the problem with these kind of negative emotions? They neutralize your zeal. They neutralize your drive. They neutralize your motivation to do life and to succeed. You can't be engaging in activities that continue to deflate you. And then you now have to ginger yourself again, then rise up again, and then no, you can't do that. Someone was like, I feel depressed every time I do that. Someone was like, I feel frustrated. I met another person, he was like, it feels for me like I'm carrying the load. This other person was like, I always feel, it's always like struggling to pick myself up again. This other person was like, wow, you have no idea. Different areas of my life are affected. This other dude was like, it feels like I'm living with an obstacle every day. For this other chap, he was like, I'm tired. I'm really tired. All the negative emotions. I met another person, he was like, no, I just want to be free. I just want to be free. I met this other person, he was like, it's really affecting me spiritually and physically. And then this other guy was like, I've lost all appetite to pray due to the feeling of guilt that always follows every time I find myself in this situation. I can't wait to be free. Those are the kind of people I'm looking for. People who can't wait to be free. But you see, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And what does it do? It reveals that the volume of misery, the volume of torture of mind that addicts have to live with on a daily basis cannot be imagined. It's terrible. It's terrible. So simply put, I can summarize it this way, that whatever it is that you indulge in that gives you some kind of temporary pleasure, but yet it takes away your peace of mind, whatever that is, cannot be right. Whatever that is, you can only suppress the guilt for a while, but give it some time, it will overwhelm you. Now we'll come to this stage and I'm going to ask you, are you ready to transform your life from this moment? If that's what you want to do, then go with me as we take this journey on what I have called the logic of an addiction. At the end of the logic of an addiction, you will find a link on the comment section. You will see a link. The first link is going to be titled Addiction Drill. You're going to click that link and then you have a drill that you're going to participate in. Fill in the answers in the boxes and then you're good to go. That's going to be one of your first class assignment for today. And then immediately we're done with the logic of an addiction and the addiction drill. Then you're going to look there again. You're going to see another link and it's going to be titled Exercise 1. Session 1, Exercise 1. That's going to be your exercise for day 1. So you have an addiction drill. Then you have exercise 1. Just answer them questions based on the boxes provided. So let's talk about the logic of an addiction. Listen, the logic of an addiction, which we're going to execute through the addiction drill, will help us to identify addictive lifestyles and habits that are present, but we are completely oblivious to them. This is so important. This is so profound. We're going to achieve this through the aid of the addiction drill. Why is this so important? It is so important because, listen, every addictive behavior operates symbiotically. They survive on the support of other lifestyles. No addictive behavior survives on its own. So let's say you registered for this experience because you're struggling with procrastination, or because you're struggling with homosexuality. Let's say you're struggling with pornography. Listen, almost all of the times, what you think you're struggling with is not surviving on its own. It is being fed and sustained by other lifestyles. If we focus on them masturbation or on them homosexuality, even if we succeed at killing it or eliminating it, trust me, it's a matter of days, it's a matter of weeks. These other lifestyles that have been feeding and sustaining it is going to supply nutrients back to it. It's going to reanimate it. It's going to awaken it from slumber, and it's going to come up back again. And that will make all our efforts wasted. That's going to be penny wise, pound foolish. That's going to be counterproductive. So if we are going to be able to deal with what it is that is obviously your problem, like you have identified, then we must also identify all them lifestyles that is helping to revive, sustain, survive, supply, feed, and support this lifestyle that is messing you up. That's what the addiction drill is going to help us to accomplish. It is important that we identify all them attributes upon which your addiction thrives and then reproduces itself. It's so important. Otherwise, even after one behavior is conquered, it has a way of getting revived because of the presence of triggers and the presence of other support systems that it is critical that we puncture, eliminate alongside whatever the addictions are. It's so important. There is no point solving one addiction and remaining enslaved to another. The idea is simple. You should not be enslaved to anything or any person under any circumstance, no matter what is happening. You got to be the master. That's what the behavior mastery experience is about. Empowering you to become the master. Everything else should be the slave, including money. Money should become the slave of your ideas, the slave of your destiny, and the slave of your life. So we're going to take a journey that will help us uncover all attributes, all habits that are open, probably, or hidden. They are open or hidden support systems of addiction. We're going to find them out. We're going to uncover them, so that at the end of the addiction drill, as you answer and fill in the boxes in that addiction drill, listen, everything you write inside that box, take note of them, because they are indicators. They are indicators that what that thing is, what you are battling with, that thing is called an addiction. That thing you write in there is a form of slavery. It is an imprisonment of some sort. And we got to eliminate it if we're going to eliminate the big brother. Very important. So identifying and solving a problem by its name is by all means half the solution to that problem. It is the reason why the addiction drill is very critical. It is also the reason why the exercise number 1 is very critical. So join me now and let's uncover them all, and then get ready for an amazing experience. So check on the comment section. There is a link to the addiction drill. As you click the link, it's going to take you there and help you uncover unidentified problems. And once you're done with that, click the send button, and then once you do that, it takes you also to exercise number 1. What exercise number 1 is going to do for you is that it is going to begin to help you identify all them triggers that help to stimulate, to trigger, to activate your addiction. And as soon as we can lay hands on what the problems are, the addictions, known and unknown, and then we can place our hands on all them triggers, trust me, we are on the path to getting rid of them, because we've been able to put our hands on what the problem is. So rush quickly, slide over quickly, get them link, click them link, and then as you're done with the addiction drill, it will take you straight to exercise number 1. As you're done with exercise number 1, I will get information. I'll get a feedback to tell me you've done it. I'll go through it. If it becomes necessary to have one-on-one sessions with you, I'm going to have one-on-one sessions with you, whether they're going to be chat messages, whether they're going to be WhatsApp conversations, whether we're going to use Zoom. We're going to sort all of them out, preferably WhatsApp, and then we take it up from there. And once we're done with that, then you will be taken straight to session number 2. But if I go through your stuff and you don't need a one-on-one session, if what you've done is okay by itself, then your link is going to take you straight to session number 2, and then you're ready for day number 2. Wow, congratulations. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you. You have no idea what I feel, how joyous, how happy I am. This is a movement of transformation. Your life will never be the same again. Thank you so much for being part of this. My name is Mason Ib West, your lead consultant for the Behavior Mastery Experience and the college director at the Love Life Institute. Thank you so much. I'll see you in session 2. I'll see you during our live interaction. Bye for now.